Hi, this is Bonnie, and this is take 2 of making my card. I thought coloring it was going to take too long for both videos together. So I'm just going to do some coloring and share with you how I ended up making coloring in the dogwood blossoms. I am using Prisma color pencils, and I am just going to be, like I said, coloring in the dogwood flowers. Now I'm going to be making them the color, not particularly the color that they would actually be in real life, but colors that would accent the colors in the paper. So let's get going. I'm going to be using, this one's pretty much gone, so I can't even tell you what the real name of it is anymore, but it's 994. And I'm going to get a little bit closer. Hopefully I don't lose too much of the shadow in there getting into the video. But around the edges, I'm using the darker color that I'm planning to color the whole thing with. And I'm going to be bringing in some to the middle. Every time I color, I do it differently. Just whatever appeals to me and what I feel like doing. I have no rhyme or reason. And this just looks like really basic coloring. I wish my pencil was a little bit longer so I could sharpen it a little bit better. But basically that's like how I start. I figure out where the shadows would be and I add my darkest color. And that's how I would go about doing each one of the flowers. I'll do a couple more just so that you can see. I don't think that anybody wants to watch me color the entire thing. So I think what I'm going to do is just show you and tell you how I'm doing the one flower. And then I will start the video up again without any sound. So again, that's my darkest color. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull a pink. And the pink I'm going to be using is called pink 929, but I wasn't prepared and I did not sharpen them, and really it makes a difference to have a sharpened pencil when you start. So I'm just going to be like, it's kind of like when you use Copics. I really was a Copic colorer before I was a colored pencil person. And I just found that, not that I don't like Copics, I really do. I just had so many problems with the nibs that I got a little frustrated and went to doing pencil. Because it's a lot of work to maintain. Copics, if they work for a really long time for you. But once you get to the point of where you need to do a lot of refilling, I just got a little frustrated and found it was easier just to sharpen pencils. But I really love the looks of Copic coloring. Always have. So that's kind of like how, I don't know if I can get a little bit closer. That's kind of like how I do my coloring. And then not a whole lot different. Like even with Copic coloring, you usually, well, some people start with a lighter color and go darker, but I usually try to figure out the shadows a little bit, and then I come back in with the next color. Usually you've been taught that there's 3 colors, not always, but in this case I'm kind of like going with a 3-color look. The next color I'm going to be using is Deco Pink, and it's 1014. And I'm sharpening that. And then really all I do is I come back in here on top of all of that and really try to blend that in. Sometimes the difference between the colored pencils and Copics is the blending, actually. You also, when you color on top of a gray scale or color, it also makes a difference in terms of what pencil will show up on top of the grayscale. Still kind of new at figuring that part of it out, but I like to play. I like to figure it out. It's fun. And you kind of get to see that process and how I figure. I guess it's kind of like how you learn. If I pulled out a color that I didn't like and you could see that it didn't work really great, then you wouldn't, probably do that the next time yourself. But it's always fun to practice, even if you see somebody else do something, you might be able to figure it out better. So that's kind of like how I do the coloring of the flowers. And then for the centers, I have more of a problem with a yellow showing up all the time. I'm going to try this a minute first. Yeah, this one's not going to really show up. So I usually end up using my gel pen, but I always like to put some sort of color down first. And I want yellow in here. And that's the only thing that I find when I try to color on top of the grayscale, that yellow does not like to show up really great for me. So this is one of the colors I really like. I use a lot. It's all I've got left of this one. And it's 942, and it's yellow ochre. And again, it does have a good, you can't really see that great. I'll pull it up closer just a second. But I will color this all in the center, and then I get out my gel sparkly pen and I highlight it. Oops, I kind of missed a spot right there. And then I'll do this one. And it also makes a difference in terms of what's in the background behind what you're doing. Let me get my gold sparkly pen. One of my favorites. And this one is, let me see if I got it the right way around. Whoops. It's Pentel Sparkly Pop. And it's the gold. And all I do is I come back in and just, I don't color it in. I just dot it. I highlight it all over, not even particularly staying where those circles are in the middle of those flowers. And let me show you what I mean when I get it closer. You can kind of see it there. It kind of like, see how it sparkles? It's a really, really cool pen. So that's how I'm going to do all of the flowers that are on there. And I'm trying to see if there's any leaves. I don't see any leaves. I just see the flowers. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to pull out a brown. And that one's going to be, this one's actually called a dark brown. So let's see if I can do this so it's not so much in the shadows. Okay, so the bottom part, again, is going to be the darker color. You can see there's some highlights already in this branch. It doesn't really need to have a lot really added to it. But it depends also, like you can see right through here, how my stamping isn't really solid. So this really helps highlight, and so you can't even tell that, and that's the other thing too, if the stamping isn't really solid and you're doing this kind of like no line coloring, it really takes care of all of that. So I did want to talk through this a little bit. That's why I'm still talking. I can't put my hand over that gold part. It'll all smear. It does take a while for it to dry. So that is why I'm turning my paper around this way. But I think I can get all of these branches probably colored in a reasonable amount of time. All right, and like remember I told you this one's a little bit darker right here. I should probably color that one up for you too so you can see how that looks. All right, so technically I've got that brown on all of them. And then I go back in again, same thing, with a little bit lighter color. And I need to sharpen that pencil. All right, and this one is Light Umber 941. So again, you don't have to use Prismacolors. You can probably use any colors. I'm just telling you what the colors are, and you can kind of see it. I'm just using a lighter and a darker. This one's more like the medium, actually. And then I will, because there's highlights in here, I want to kind of keep the highlights. I like them from the stamp. So these aren't very big. This doesn't take very long to even color. All right, so I'm going to be using a lighter color, and the one that I use all the time, and I'm almost out of it again, that really blends a lot of the colors well that are brown and gray, is called Putty Beige, and it's 1083. And so again, I'm just going to come in there. It's going to be on the top part, and that will kind of blend it in, the two colors I just did, and still keep that highlight for me. I don't know if you can see that. Let me show you close. See? I think that works pretty good. And there we go down there. Okay, and then I'm going to come back down here. This is really, if you're not doing a video, you could just take your old time. It's really kind of fun if you like to color. All right, so that's pretty much how that's going to be, other than adding more color to the flowers. But like I said to you, I'm going to go ahead and do this dark one so you can see the difference. Why I really, really like it better when I can just stamp one time and it be really light, because it tends to have more, but if it's darker, then you have a different look. But it tends to have, I don't know, and then it's just darker, obviously. And you have to pay attention to the pencils. Pencils can make a difference in terms of the color you even add to them. You have a different look. But if you do it all the same, it doesn't really matter. If it's all dark, then they're all similar. But you can see what I'm saying. I really wanted you to see that the difference. And if you stamp it, you have to stamp it more than once. You can still do it. It just has a different look. Right? Okay. Now you can really see the difference between that flower, because I'm not done with this one down here. You have to add the light. Now the light does really make a difference on the darker ones. When you add light, the lighter you get. It does make a difference. But I'm just wanting you to see why I really like the fact that I like them lighter. But they work either way. So the centers are yellow. Now they'll show up more in here because it's up against something dark. Okay? Oops. So that's the flower. If I could get that out of that shadow. There we go. Well, I just have a lot of shadows. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and pop some of that gray in, or some of the gold glitter pen in there. And then we have those flowers done. I'll do all of these flowers in the same way. Now, for the fairy, I'm trying to say, okay, what do I want to do for her? I think I'm going to go, because there's a little bit of yellow that I can see in the rust. I'm going to make her wings more of a yellow. And so I'm going to use that yellow I started with, but I like to do the darker part first. So I'm going to pull out more of a brown. And that brown is going to be another one of my tiny pencils. Whoops. 943. And I do have another one of these. It's burnt ochre. So burnt ochre is going to be the bottom part, and I'm not doing a lot of it, but it's, again, remember how I told you about the shadows? This is the shadows. Okay? And you can kind of see those shadows there. And then I'm going to come back in with that 942, which is yellow ochre, and I'm going to just pull up from there, because we're going to have more of a, like I said, a golden wing. Okay, and then I need one more color, which is light. And I'm going to go with cream, and that's 914, and that's what the cream looks like. And that's the lightest color, and I'm just going to bring that down into the colors I already did. It does kind of color over the color of the wing, so it will mute the black. Now, there's a couple of things you can keep in mind, that little tricks that I have done. I don't know if it's a trick, it's just what I do. I have an eraser, a Prisma eraser. Now say for instance I don't like that, I can come back in and just lightly erase that so you can see the black even better. I've done that for things that I really want to see them, and the color still stays. And the eraser will take a little bit of the color away, but it'll still stay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add the pink to her skirt so that her skirt is supposed to be the dogwood flower. And again, it's darker even than this one over here. So you can see now for sure, if you stamp all in dark, nocturne, it doesn't show up very well. Look at that. You can see it, but it doesn't show up very well. And that's why I do the morning mist, so that I can do more of an online coloring. I'm going to go ahead and use the same types of pinks that I did before. It's just done in a little bit more different way. And the light one. So it's, like I said, it's a little bit different. And then these dots around her waist, I consider them to be like the center of the flower. So I'm going to use that same yellow that I use for the center of the flowers and just color those in. Okay? So that's pretty much what I want to show you. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and color the whole thing in. I think you understand how to color the flowers, how to color the branch, and how to color up the fairy and her skirt and wings. Now, I am going to be using the gold sparkly pen, and I'm just going to dot some of the highlight areas that I want highlighted in her wings. And then I'm gonna dot her skirt waist. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you, and you can see how long that took just to do that little bit. And here's the glitter. You can see the glitter and how it sparkles. And again, those are the flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of that colored up, and I will show you a finished card at the beginning of the video. Thanks so much for stopping by to watch the coloring as well. All of the product I use will be in the description below.